See, most people think the hardest part of being chosen is the pressure. But the real weight isn't when the world knows who you are. It's when you know who you are, and no one else sees it yet. That quiet space, that's where the real war is fought. When you're building in silence, when you're healing behind the scenes, when you're giving everything you've got, and it looks like nothing's happening, but it is. Heaven is watching, not to reward perfection, but to measure consistency, not to see if you shout the loudest, but to see if you still move when no one's clapping, not to test your talent, but to expose your truth. Because if you can't be trusted in private, you'll never be trusted in public. So, while you're focused on proving people wrong, God's focused on proving you right. The universe is checking your foundation before it blesses the house. You're not being overlooked. You're being observed. You're not being denied. You're being developed. And the ones who can't see what's on you, they're not supposed to, because the most powerful version of you doesn't need an audience. It needs alignment. You think you're being hidden. You're being protected from premature praise, from premature pressure, from people who would have celebrated your gift but never respected your growth. Because here's what's real. You're not just called to be successful, you're called to be spiritually secure in that success. Otherwise, the money becomes your identity. The fame becomes your drug. The praise becomes your prison. And you were never meant to be a prisoner in your own blessing. So now, you're in the cocoon, no spotlight, no recognition, just transformation. And it's uncomfortable, because you're shedding old skin, old habits, old relationships that no longer fit the next level. People think you've gone quiet. They think you're off track, but you're just in alignment. You're being watched by the right eyes that don't care how many likes you get. Eyes that don't care how fast your results come. Eyes that only care about your integrity when no one's watching. Because the next season isn't about hype, it's about holiness. The next door won't open because you networked. It'll open because you nurtured your inner world. You thought the delay was punishment. It wasn't. It was preparation. Preparation to carry the weight of real responsibility. Preparation to stay grounded when the spotlight shows up. Preparation to not fold when the enemy shows his face. And he's watching. Waiting, not for your success, but for your unhealed parts. So while you think no one sees your struggle, heaven sees everything, and that's why you're being refined. Every moment you chose discipline over distraction, noted. Every time you chose prayer over panic, noted. Every time you held your tongue when ego wanted to speak, noted. You're not going unnoticed. You're being recorded in realms you can't even see yet. Because when the time comes, and it will come, your rise will be undeniable, but not because you marketed yourself, because you mastered yourself. You won't be a one-hit wonder. You'll be a spiritual force in physical form, and the same ones who ignored you, they'll turn around and say, "Where did you come from?" But you'll know, you didn't just arrive. You were watched, forged, and released. This is what it means to be chosen, to be misunderstood in public, but trusted in private, to walk through seasons of silence, so your spirit gets louder than your surroundings, to walk through doors no one else saw, because they weren't meant to. Only you were, because you don't need approval, you need alignment. And once you're aligned, nothing can stop what you've been hidden, not because you're weak, but because you're too powerful to be released too soon. A storm released too early destroys, but a storm released in divine timing shifts the entire atmosphere. That's what you are, a shift. You don't walk in rooms like everyone else. You bring a presence with you, and those watching, they feel it, even if they don't understand it. They can't put it into words, but your silence speaks louder than most people's shouting. Why? Because it's not about what you say, it's about who you've become in the dark. The discipline you built when no one was watching, that's the foundation of your power. The self-control you practiced when no one was praising, that's the reason your name will last longer than trends. The spiritual armor you forged in prayer, in pain, in patience. That's why your name is marked. That's why your future is sealed. You're not in competition, you're in consecration. You were pulled away from the crowd, not to be forgotten, but to be set apart. You were pulled out of the noise so you could hear clearly, because when the call comes, you won't have time to get ready. You'll be ready, so don't resent the silence. Don't fight the isolation. Don't mourn the seasons of being overlooked. Celebrate them, because while others were performing, you were preparing. While others were chasing platforms, you were chasing purity. While others wanted to be seen, you just wanted to be used. And now the divine is watching your reactions, watching your faith, watching how you handle lack. Because that's the test before abundance. Anyone can be kind with money. Anyone can be humble with success. But who are you when there's nothing? Who are you when the doors are shut? When the answers are delayed? When the prayers feel like they bounce back? That's where heaven evaluates warriors. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And you've been passing every test you didn't even know you were taking. You've kept going when quitting felt easier. You've shown up when no one noticed. You've stayed true when shortcuts were screaming your name. And for that, you're not just watched, you're approved, marked, chosen, anointed. For impact most people can't even comprehend, because your life is no longer about just making it. It's about making waves. You're not here to survive. You're here to shift bloodlines. You're here to break chains your family never could. To walk in rooms your ancestors only dreamed of. To build foundations that your children will stand on, not escape from. That's why you were isolated. That's why your battles were different. That's why your pain didn't make sense. Because your purpose isn't regular, and the ones watching you, they're not earthly, they're eternal. They're not watching to criticize. They're watching to confirm the moment. They release favor over you. You won't fumble it. To confirm the moment they drop the opportunity, you'll carry it with character. To confirm the moment your voice is amplified, you'll speak truth, not noise. So you want to know why you're being watched. Because everything you've been doing in silence is about to be multiplied in public. Everything you've been sowing in pain is about to bloom in power. And when it does, people will say it happened suddenly. They'll call it luck. They'll call it fate. They'll say, you came out of nowhere. But you'll know you came out of nowhere to them, but not to the divine. The divine was watching. The divine was orchestrating. The divine was waiting on you to mature into your mantle, and now you have. So when the doors open, walk through without hesitation. When the platform shows up, speak like your words were sent, not just spoken. When the wealth comes, manage it like a king, not a consumer. Because this is what you were always meant for. Not just visibility, but vision. Not just attention, but assignment. Not just abundance, but authority. And here's the final truth. You're still being watched, but not for approval anymore. Now, You're being watched to release the impact. You're a lighthouse. You don't chase ships. You shine until they find their way. You're a mirror. You reflect truth so others can see themselves clearly. You're a blueprint. You prove what's possible when someone stays true in silence and pure in the waiting. And the eyes that are on you now, they're not watching to stop you. They're watching to back you. Your angels are on assignment. Your future is leaning in. Your ancestors are cheering. You didn't come this far by accident. You didn't stay standing through everything just to play small now. You've been watched, weighed, and found worthy. Now walk in it. Now that you know you're being watched. You move differently, not with fear, but with focus. You realize now, every step you take is a signal to the heavens that you're not just chasing success. You're carrying destiny. This is bigger than being impressive. You're not here to entertain. You're here to establish a new frequency, a new standard, a new era, and the ones watching you now, they're not strangers. They're spiritual witnesses sent to guard the gates that are about to open. Because when it's time, everything that's been withheld will be released at once. The opportunities, the finances, the connections, the favor, the resources, the acceleration, not because you begged for it, not because you bought your way into rooms, but because you became the version of you that could be trusted with the weight of it all. That's the difference between hype and heaven. Hype gives you results quickly. Heaven gives you results that last. Hype fades when the applause stops. Heaven keeps expanding even in silence. And you're not the result of a viral moment. You're the result of vision. Tested in isolation. You weren't built on algorithms. You were built on alignment. And that's why what's coming won't just elevate you. It'll establish generational impact, because this has never been just about you. You were being watched, not to control you, but to confirm you. You're the first in your bloodline to break certain patterns. You're the first to heal instead of hiding. You're the first to choose discipline over dysfunction. And because of that, you're going to be the first to hold real power and not be consumed by it. This is what being chosen feels like. Not flashy, not easy, but holy. You weren't picked for popularity. You were marked for purpose. You were called to carry weight, not chase clout to create lanes, not just walk in them, to lead quietly and let results speak. And now, you don't owe explanations. You don't need validation. You just need to stay aligned, because here's the final truth. The eyes that matter. They're not on social media. They're not your followers. They're not your ex. They're not the doubters. They're the spiritual forces assigned to your life, watching how you steward what you've been given, watching how you react to the silence, watching how you rise after the storm. And they're getting ready to release what's been withheld. But there's one final test. The test of consistency when no one's clapping. The test of character when the pressure increases. The test of faithfulness when results don't match your effort. Because the final reward isn't just wealth. It's wisdom with it. The final reward isn't just success. It's the stability to keep it. And that's why you've been shaped, broken, rebuilt. To hold doors open for others, to speak with clarity, to walk in peace, to embody power with humility. You were watched in the shadows so that your light would never blind you. And when they finally ask, where did you come from? How did you do it without the blueprint? How did you stay grounded when others sold out? You'll say, because I was watched by heaven, and I didn't move to impress. I moved to fulfill. I was trusted when no one saw me. I was refined when everyone forgot me. And when my moment came, I didn't seize it. I served it because chosen. Ones don't chase the stage. They become the altar, where truth is spoken, where healing begins, where generations are restored. This is why it took time, why it felt lonely, why the losses stacked up before the wins showed up. Because you weren't just building success, you were building depth, and depth can't be faked. It's earned in silence. So now, walk like you're watched, speak like you're sent, move like you've been approved in heaven before you're applauded on earth. Because now, everything you thought was delayed was actually developing you. And everything that's coming, it's coming fast, it's coming heavy, but it's coming with purpose. Not just for you, but through you. You're not just blessed, you're assigned. You're not just elevated, you're equipped, and every watcher in the spirit realm knows. The time has come. You're not next, you're now.